So back in 2009, me and my friend Mike decided we were going to enter something called the Wacky Rally. Now the Wacky Rally is all about just having fun, driving old banger cars with a few kind of like limitations, and it's organised. So you kind of shouldn't get lost. You're given things to do. It's in a kind of like a team and jovial kind of spirit in the way it's organised. And at the end of it, the wackiest car and the people that do the wackiest things, well, they win a prize. Looked into it, dead easy, entry fee, 250 quid, car, no more than 250 quid. It may have changed from that at the moment, but that's what it was back in 2009. And being that, we wanted to go along with the spirit of things, we found a car for less than 250 quid. We kind of found out very quickly after that no one really cared about that, not even the people that organised it. It was just a guideline so that it kept the price of entry down for everybody else. But, that's just the kind of people we are. So what you're about to watch is my friend Mike and I tear apart what would probably consider to be a classic car, a VW Scirocco GT on a G-Reg, which is like 1988 or something like that. And we're going to rip it apart and turn it into, yes, that's right, the DeLorean Back to the Future time machine car. So we set about ripping out this interior and then recreating all the bits that we wanted to put things on display, like the flux capacitor and all the things inside. So basically we're just left with the front two seats and then started to construct everything within the back. We were then moving on to the paint job. Obviously this vehicle is black and it's kind of got a few rust holes and things like that. You can poke your finger through holes in the side of it. So we decided it's got to be silver. The whole kind of thing looked all right in the end of it. And the fact that we were going to put some sponsorships on there, we'd reached out to, obviously, like I say, a few suppliers of products we were going to use, and also some companies that Mike and I personally knew or had connections to raise a bit of money for charity along the way. So we knew that there were going to be certain things around the car to cover up all the really bad paint. There was the car number, there were our names, like a rally car we were putting on there. We had the logo, the Banger to the Future logo. And then one of the biggest sponsors was the VWAF, the VW Audi Owners Forum. So basically they were organising events so that we could show the car off. And they were promoting us as well so that people could follow us along the way and see the journey. Now, after the spray kind of was all finished off and the car was all nicely silvered, the back end was all finished off, so we're ready to start fitting all the back end workings, if you like, that is on the time machine. We fitted lights inside, and then we were trying to work out how you fit all the other things. So I think we found an old Henry Hoover, pulled that apart, sprayed the interior. We found some pipes and ductwork, everything that had a weird shape but had some sort of symmetry to it that we could put around the back, spray different colours. That's what we did. We started to have motherboards around on the interior to act like it was part of the processing power of the flux capacitor and everything like that. I then came across these light strings, if you like. So it's like string that's sort of like lit up like a fluorescent tube. And you could have them all over the car. And we're thinking, right, what we need now is to replicate, everything that went over the back of the car and down the sides and the lights. We wanted to make it look like it was moving when it was all lit up and things like that. Used the same again to make the flux capacitor inside. And then again on the inside we have the industrial kind of railer going across the top with all the switches and dials and everything like that. So we're probably talking about 4 months into all this build now, and to the point where we actually had the car finished. It was safe to drive. Everything that we were going to bolt on there was bolted on there. We started to pick up the sponsors, and we're getting the sponsors stickers made up from the side. We had our names on. Like I say, the Banger to the Future logo. So obviously we had to have the out of time number plate stuck on the back there as well. And we went to this event which the VW Audi Forum people organised. I forget what it was. I think it was up near Preston or something, some big country hall. And it was everyone, show up and show your ride off. But when you arrive at a car event and there are people there looking at you in amazement and disgust. Fortunately, there was more amazement than there was disgust. But yeah, there was a few people there that absolutely kind of like hated the idea that we'd taken this classic car and just ripped it to shreds and made it into a banger to the future. That was something we really hadn't anticipated, but it was interesting nonetheless. So it was about the time to go now. So we had like the interior, like I say, pretty much almost buttoned off. We had the alarm clock on the dash that goes off with the little bells. I'd kind of recreated the time clock, the time machine clock and everything, and the dates were fixed in there. We put a stereo in there, like banging tunes, big speakers inside, and we just played the Back to the Theme tune every time we pulled up anywhere. Windows down, Back to the Future theme tune was blasted out, all that kind of stuff. So set off from Manchester, and it was called Barmy to Barcelona. That's the event, Wacky Rally. If you just search for Wacky Rally, you go to the website. I'll put some links down below now. So it started in Lille in France and finished in Barcelona in Spain. And the whole idea of this Wacky Rally is you get things to do each day. One day we had to drive through as many countries as we could. Every time you change a border, there's a big sign, whether it be a motorway or an A road, you've got to stop and you've got to take a picture. So every day you had these tasks. The more tasks you did, the more points you earned. And obviously at the end of the day, the more points you earn, the more likely you're going to win, the wackiest rallyer. And there was other categories as well. There was the smallest engine car, the wackiest car, the biggest car, and things like that. And bear in mind, somebody bought a fire engine, and they were, I think, not only doing like 2 miles to the gallon of fuel, I think they were doing 10 miles to the gallon of oil as well. So kudos to them for that. And then there was a tiny little Nissan Micra and stuff like that, which called a pace car, which did actually keep up pretty well with everybody. Now you've got to bear in mind as well, we went out all the way for this one. We even organised our wives to meet us in Barcelona. Yeah, they had to go to Barcelona and stay there before we got there, just to make sure everything was all right. And they had to kind of go out, sunbathing and drinking every day. But at least they met us at the end of the trip, for the weekend, and because we got to Barcelona and they were able to meet us there. So that was kind of fortunate, they're able to do that. But we all had T-shirts made up as well. So, for example, and then on the back, and then our partners, well, Mandy had her T-shirt as well, and Mike's partner Kath, she had her T-shirt as well. So when they met us in Barcelona, when we finished, obviously they were there waiting, and people knew they were there waiting, and people coming up to them, banger to the future, and they were amazed at the camaraderie, if you like, of the event. So we did this big convoy from the beach through the middle of Barcelona, up over the motorway bridges. We've got, like I say, a Dennis fire engine following us and loads of other people. We'd organised this hotel in the middle of Barcelona where Mandy and Kath had been staying, and what we really didn't understand was that everyone really didn't know what was going on. At that night we were going to meet in the Sportsman's Club in Barcelona, which is on the main strip, and we're going to have the main event, where people are handed out with trophies. We're going to find out who won which event, who got which points and things like that. Now, the other thing to this event as well is that once you get to Barcelona in your vehicle, you either fly home and sell your vehicle to a scrapyard or whatever in Barcelona, you try and pass your vehicle onto somebody else, or you kind of maybe just leave it somewhere and let it get crushed. And that was something that Mike and I thought about all the way. What are we going to do about it? And we got a few scrapyards numbers ready to phone them. But I think it was the first night in Lille that we got chatting to the guys in the Nissan Micra, and it was quite evident very quickly that if we wanted to get rid of the banger to the future at the end of the trip, they, and if not them, several other people were quite happy to take it off our hands. So we did actually give it away at the end of the trip. To this day, I've no idea what ended up with the car. We kind of didn't really keep in touch. I believe it went off to do another event. So back in 2009, unfortunately, I didn't do a lot of videos. It was more pictures. We were using mobile phones as well. You can see from some of the images. And certainly when you were doing selfies on mobile phones, you'll see some of those were doing selfies. So, but yeah, the selfie camera on them really wasn't that good, and they did not come out of the best quality. But I've included some of them as I've gone along, and we just didn't do a lot of video, unfortunately, because the video really wasn't up to it on the cameras. But obviously you can get a bit of the emotion and what was going on through some of the pictures that I've been showing. So yeah, the event was fantastic. I say some of the things you had to do along the way. So yeah, we had to make this animal, and have the animal we made pose for pictures with people or other objects or even other animals. So you'll see in some of the pictures we've got this kind of like white thing, which is actually one of our suits that we're wearing, the paper suits, and we've sprayed it a bit with black and we made it out. That was our cow. And then we had a cow taken with a guy with a bike. And then we had the cow taken with another cow because we thought that were good. And that was just kind of like to get points along the way. So not only did you have to go a certain route, and there was routes available. Say, for example, the fire engine wouldn't have made it over some of the mountain roads we went over. So there were 2 routes, and then depending on which route you went on, you got more points for if your car made it. A road started with col de every time, and that was just zigzag up a mountain, back down a mountain, through Italy, Switzerland, France, and it was just fantastic. The cars were absolutely stunning. Some of the ideas that people came up with were absolutely brilliant. Mike and I come from a very different background than probably 50% of the people there, but we went out drinking with them every night, went out for meals. If they broke down, we'd stop and help them. If they needed some things along the way, we'd help them. I think the very worst thing that we came across was it said you must find super dicamons. Google was around on mobile phones, but there was certainly nothing like the data you've got now. It was 2G data, and we're using these tiny little sort of phones. Could have maybe looked what super dicamons were, but we certainly didn't have a clue. Although we went all the way around Germany trying to ask people, it just appeared that maybe they didn't want to tell us. Maybe the joke was on us. It turns out later they are what we would in the UK call tea cakes. They're just kind of like that size instead. So at the end of the day, we did actually win. Yes! We didn't win on points. Somebody else won that. There were obviously more teams with more people, so they were able to do all the extra things. And Mike and I had kind of at the outset decided that whilst we were going to go in for it as much as we could, the event for us was just like the camaraderie, the driving around all these amazing places, and just seeing other people's reactions to our car and just getting involved that way, rather than spending all the time, trying to write down what all these things are. So we never expected to win by far. I think we came like 8th or 9th or something like that. But however, we did win, yes, the best, or what they call the wackiest car. There was an overwhelming majority, and that was via everybody else. So everyone else voted for the best car, and literally everyone voted for our car. So when it was read out, like I say, at the sports bar, it literally was like absolute uproar of people just going, "Yeah, the best car!" And that was just fantastic because there were so many other cool cars out there, and the fact that someone turned up in a fire engine, But yeah, so many other cool cars out there that we saw, and so much effort that people put into the cars that there were other cars worthy of winning, like the wackiest car as well, but it was brilliant. This video was all about me just sharing the memory of this event. Hopefully I've maybe inspired some of you to go and do the same. It's still running right now. You can still go and do it. And Mandy and I have been talking about doing it. It may be something that we do next year, or certainly within the next couple of years, because Mandy saw, from a slight outsider's point of view, what was going on. The pictures we've shown her, the stories Mike and I have told her about what's happened along the way and what we did this day and that day, and she saw with a friend Kath waiting there, all these other people arriving at the end of the time in Barcelona, and what they got up to and hearing their stories. And then obviously at the Sportsman's Pub in Barcelona at the end of the night, you hear everybody's stories. The pictures are up on the big screen, all that kind of thing. It just made a fantastic event, and I think it's something that Mandy and I have spoken about quite often ever since. But I think certainly next year or within the next couple of years we'll be doing it. I think next year would be nice to do it because it'd be like the 10th year anniversary of the first time we did it, and that'd just be a fantastic thing to do. So some of the quality of the images aren't fantastic, but hopefully you'll get the overall impression of what the event's about, and hopefully I've inspired you to go and try it out for yourselves. If you go over to the website Wacky Rally, I've linked it below. On the gallery page, I think it's the very last page, you'll see a picture of the that Banger to the Future car on there, and it's one of the last remaining pictures on there. So yeah, it's nice that they've still got that after 10 years almost. Anyway, thanks very much for watching my video. I hope I've entertained you a little bit today. Bit of a change from the normal kind of like travel camping videos and stuff like that, but nevertheless, you know, it is about travel and it is about vehicles, and I thought it might be at least a little bit interesting for some of you out there. So you take care, happy travels, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.